morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. Now, yesterday I asked you what you wanted to talk about today, and it was clear you had one thing on your mind and one thing only, and that's that the Harry Potter franchise is continuing. Not as a sequel or a prequel, but as a spin-off, where Warner Brothers is going to bring to life one of Harry's textbooks, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which was said to have been written 70 years before Potter's time by one Newt Scamander. A kind of an explorer, if you will, and his story is set to start in New York City. Now, a lot of times here on the show, I'm saying, look, if they want to get Christian Bale back for Batman, they should write him a huge check. Robert Downey Jr. for Avengers 2 and 3, I'm sure he got a huge check. And do you know who else is getting a huge check? JK Rowling. That's how Warner Brothers brought her back in. They pretty much backed up a truck of money to her house. And I would even wager more than Robert Downey Jr. is getting or that Christian Bale would have gotten. Because here's the deal that they lined up for her. First of all, they are letting her write the screenplay for this new film. So JK Rowling is upgrading from just creator and advisor to being directly involved in the filmmaking process here, which is a very exciting turn of events for her, and I'm not surprised she couldn't turn that down. But there's more. I don't know if she held out or if Warner Brothers came in swinging with a deal she couldn't refuse at first glimpse, because they've also offered her significantly increased participation in the franchise itself, from everything from the profits of the film to merchandising to the theme parks, because let's face it, with DC, Harry Potter is really one of the biggest things in Warner Brothers' bag of tricks. And they have the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at the Universal theme parks, and they also have that studio tour experience that they've built out in London. So obviously they want to keep it going. The question is this a good idea? Because conceivably, and it looks like this is what Warner Brothers wants to do, they could make Harry Potter movies forever. So as studios become, more, blockbuster driven, it really begs the question whether or not franchises need to continue to evolve, or if it's a good idea to close the book on them, let them be, and then find a new story to tell. I mean, I think that Indiana Jones is a good example of a franchise that they tried to bring back quite unsuccessfully. Because when you do this, you risk tarnishing what's worked so well. And Harry Potter is one of the longest running franchises as is, and is the most profitable. It's the highest grossing. It edged out Star Wars. And of course, Star Wars, another prime example. Hopefully they'll do a better job with Disney's planning, but the prequels obviously have, it's interesting. The prequels are actually an interesting dilemma, because there's a whole generation that was their first introduction to Star Wars, and they aren't as critical of them, but I think that nobody could really argue that they're as good as the original 3 films. But back to Harry Potter. So this is what they're going to do. They haven't contracted for more films, but they're saying if this is a hit, that they're going to keep making movies. Will they all be based on Potter textbooks? No, I think they're just going to continue to explore this world. Unless Newt becomes a big hit as a character, then I'm sure they'll want to explore him more. And also, I mentioned Indiana Jones. Is Newt Scamander a magical version, like a wizard version of Indiana Jones? That sounds like a great pitch in a conference room, don't you think? If I were a studio executive, or Kevin Tsujihara, I would totally be into that. And also, it'll be interesting to see Rowling writing a story and a movie where her lead character is an adult. She has, of course, specialized in teens, and that's who we've met through her writing. She's been trying to write adult novels, but none of them have really stood out for more. I think they get solid reviews, but none of them has caught on like Harry Potter. No one's been like, wow, this is great, let's make this into a movie. No, everybody just wants to go back to Harry Potter. And I think maybe that also might be driving Rowling, that she hasn't really found the same success outside of the Potter franchise that perhaps she hoped. So while I think she definitely had something to prove, I think it's interesting that Rowling is a good businesswoman as well, and is like, well, I tried it, but let's not try so hard that I get to a point where I can't go back to Potter. So this is a new phase in the Potter franchise, a new phase in JK Rowling's career, and a new phase for Harry Potter fans. I'm interested to know if you guys want to continue with this, or would you maybe have preferred to see the adventures of Harry as an adult instead? And who do you want to see play Newt? So write your thoughts down below on that. So that's the first story. And I mentioned Star Wars is a tricky universe to expand, but Disney is determined. And they confirmed this week that they're going to make a movie, they said, every year for Star Wars. And one year will be an episode that's in continuity of the original films, and another will be a spin-off of some kind. And they're saying they're going to go with origin stories. Now, when I first heard this rumor, I thought, I would be so into a Yoda origin story. And I know that my sister, who's a big Yoda fan, would love a Yoda origin story. She's not even a big Star Wars fan, but I can totally see a Yoda story getting her into theaters. However, the first one they're going with is Han Solo. And I think that's one of the worst ideas I've ever heard. I'm sorry. I know that sometimes we get into lively debates about actors and what they can pull off and can't, coming from TV to film and such, and passing the torch. But there's only one Han Solo, and it's Harrison Ford. I mean, next, why don't you recast Michael Corleone? It's just such a ridiculous idea, and I think so blasphemous to the fan base and the character that I really am. Even if the movie looks great, I'm so against it from just the morals of film, the morals of franchises. I don't really know if there's a morality there. And that's where you get into a gray area here. Fans can argue all they want, but then the counter argument is always, it's a fictional universe. What are you complaining about? But it's a fictional universe that we all care about very deeply. And I just think this is such an iconic character that it's Indiana Jones as well. I really do. I'd rather see new Star Wars characters than revisit and recast these fan favorite characters. And as I said with these other movies, same with the characters themselves, harming the character. What if they cast somebody who does a horrible job, and then the Han Solo image is forever tarnished by that? I really want to see Harrison Ford return to the role in the episodes that they're making. The sequels, Episode 7. But I'm really against making a young Han Solo movie. I don't care. There's no one on the face of the earth who could pull it off, and I think it's the wrong thing to do. And I hope that the top-notch quality actors realize this and resist whatever Disney waves in front of them to try to get them on board. Do you feel as strongly about this as I do? Write your thoughts down below as well as that. And everything's kind of interrelated today. I just did a Star Wars story based on continuing franchises, and now back to Warner Brothers, where Kevin Tsujihara has been, he gave a talk for investors this week, and not only did he talk about, the Harry Potter franchise and how they're so excited to continue with that, and he also defended Ben Affleck as Batman, and he said this is going to be a wary, tiresome, very experienced Batman. So I think that's an interesting starting point for a new version of any character. He's already tired of doing this. Who's with him? But I'm trying to give Ben Affleck the benefit of the doubt here. I would really like to see him succeed in the role, just because it would be interesting. And also, everybody wants the DC universe and the Marvel universe to both be strong at Hollywood, so that we can all enjoy some great movies, and everyone likes a good, healthy competition. But the real thing that Kevin Tsujihara said at this conference that I thought was particularly interesting was his goal of ultimately making video games 10% of Warner Brothers' profits. And I thought that was a fascinating goal. And his quote exactly was, he says, "We're by far the biggest and probably the only studio that's making money on the game side like this. It's a business that we built from scratch, and we're on track to have a great year in games." So I think that's an admirable goal. One of the reasons that Tsujihara, I think, was brought on is because his ability to think outside the box. He has been a big fan of DC, even in his previous role at Warner Brothers. So people said that he would be looking to engage them in a big way, and he is, obviously. He's making some big moves. Whether or not they're good ideas remain to be seen. Michael Eisner, when he came on board at Disney, had a lot of big ideas as well. He was really adamant about being the next Walt Disney. But as it was revealed, Michael Eisner just didn't have the same skill set as Walt Disney, and he actually ended up doing a lot of damage and creating a lot of mediocre entertainment and product. So I think Kevin Tsujihara, definitely his heart is in the right place, and I think it's great that he's getting behind comic books and video games. I think he's right to do that, but I just wonder if even though it's a great idea, does he have the skill set and the vision and the ability to pick the right people to incorporate? To put that into play, I guess is the right word. I can't think of the exact right word right now, but I think that's what remains to be seen. But we'll see. So that's the three stories of the day today. So let's get to the viewer question, and it's from Ryoka Mayuka. Sorry about if I mispronounced it. Every day I apologize about potentially mispronouncing someone's name. I apologize again. But this person asks, Grace, which do you prefer, dubbing a movie or show, dubbing a movie or show, or subtitling it And which do you think is better? Like in anime, a lot of shows are dubbed, and some people think it's better to watch them in the original Japanese. Actually, they just said Japanese. I added original Japanese. I'm assuming that's the case. I'm a very big fan of watching things in their original language, and that's one of the reasons I picked this viewer question. I think that subtitles are not hard to deal with. Sometimes it's annoying when they have them like white or yellow, and they blend in with the picture sometimes, and it's hard to read them. I mean, I think it's crucial that subtitles be easy to read. That's the only time they bother me. But I think that it's so important to get the original actor's performance. I think that that's how the movie was intended, that's how it was made, and as good as a dub might be, you're just not getting the original product as it was intended. You're not getting the artistry. So I think it's important to enjoy anything as it was originally made, and I think it's somewhat, I honestly have to say, somewhat disrespectful to the talent involved to do the dubbing. Now, I know some really talented people in foreign countries do dubbing for American films. For instance, it was recently discussed that I'm trying to pronounce it correctly today, Eugenio Derbez did the voice of Donkey in Shrek films in Mexico. And I think maybe animated, even in animation, Eddie Murphy was the original voice of that character. He did a really great job. He made it his own. So I just feel you should always go with the original choice. That's just my personal feeling, though. So I'd be interested to know how everyone feels down below. So that's today's morning movie news. Thank you for tuning in. Write your thoughts down below about today's stories. And let me know what you want to talk about on Monday, and also any questions you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.